Welcome to the Hail Mary, the GPP NFL podcast. I'm Big Italy 42 here talking about an article written by our very own Scott Mailway at Sports 25 to Life. I'm sure you know him from the site, from multiple podcasts. So he wrote up his favorite GPP plays, and I'm going to go ahead and run them down for you here. Top option is certainly one that I'm on board with. I know a lot of people are, and obviously, as Scott mentions here, you're looking for low ownership and upside with these plays. So certainly many of them risky, maybe not so much the first one here, but a lot of them risky, but that's what you need to do. You need to find the player that has the big upside that not very many people are on. So starting with Derek Carr at Chicago. Chicago's been one of the worst defenses in all of football, 31st in the league against the pass, according to Football Outsiders. And Amari Cooper, as Scott puts it here, been completely rejuvenated by Amari Cooper. First week, they really struggled against the Bengals. And this is a Bears unit, like Scott mentions here, worse in the league against the pass. 78 throws over the last 2 weeks for Derek Carr. This is a guy who was a volume passer in college as well. Latavius Murray adds an extra dimension to that running game. So there's a whole lot of balance in this lineup and a whole lot of upside. And as Scott mentions, Carr, criminally underpriced on DraftKings. And he's fairly priced on FanDuel, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to be looking away from him there. Next up, Blake Bortles. This is a team that only has a 19-point Vegas total. Scott mentions here, this is a guy who has not been as good as Carr, but he's taken a step forward, and he mentions an 83.2 QBR over the past 2 weeks, 4 touchdowns, just 1 pick, facing a Colts team that has looked pretty bad on both sides of the ball. Bortles, if you're looking for low ownership, this is your guy here. This is a Colts defense that is very beatable. And we have options here for Blake Bortles. Even if we see Allen Robinson locked up with Vontae Davis, you certainly have Allen Hurns. You've got many other options to get going in this game. So Blake Bortles, really low owned upside type of play, especially at his price tag. Next up, Jamaal Charles. And Charles, despite not having a ton of success on the ground, he's been one of the more consistent backs in the league. Week 3, Chiefs were getting crushed, but he got 20-plus touches. Got 5 more catches, scored 3 touchdowns, a couple of those through the air late. And as he points out, there's a great point here, game script proof. So if the Chiefs are down big, he gets catches. If they're up big, he gets runs. So got to love the game flow with Jamaal Charles being really game proof there. So the Bengals, been a very good defense against the run, though. 7th in the NFL over the last 16 games, as Scott points out here. So not a good matchup, but he's the type of back that gets involved in many, many ways, like he said, with the game script there. So 24-0 up, 24-0 down, close game, doesn't matter. Jamaal Charles is going to get his touches, and although the yards may be hard to come by, there's not a lot of other options that Alex Smith relies on quite as much as Jamaal Charles. Ameer Abdullah for the Lions now, and Scott mentions here, terrible matchup, just a 16.5-point Vegas total for the Lions here, and the Seahawks, of course, at full strength at Seattle, but a good point here by Scott, trying to find value in upside combination. Abdullah has both of those things. And we're seeing Abdullah workload increase, should be. We see Joique Bell has been missing practice, so Abdullah could be the guy here. And we saw Matt Forte in a much worse offense have a decent amount of success on the ground against Seattle. Obviously, Forte, a much more established back. But Abdullah, a very talented back, can make plays in space and, make plays out of the backfield as well. So you got to like that call there. Demaryius Thomas against the Minnesota Vikings for the Broncos. And we heard Peyton Manning, everyone freaked out about after the first week, saying Peyton Manning was done, noodle arm, he's got nothing left. And now they've been moving right along as they were last year. And Thomas, 7 catches at least in each of the 3 games, and 92 or more yards in each of them. Got a touchdown last week. And he's such a good athlete that Peyton Manning doesn't have to make a perfect throw for him to make a play. And the running game for the Broncos has not been very good, so they're going to be throwing the ball a ton. And as Scott points out here, the Vikings, 23rd over the past 16 games in the league against the pass. And he says Thomas may be the best run-after-the-catch wideout in the NFL, and it's hard to disagree with that. We've seen this guy, wide receiver screen, slant, curl route, doesn't matter what it is. I mean, he could take it to the house at any time. So love that call by Scott there. Next up, Jordan Matthews. And he was a guy who bailed people out week 2. And then week 3, the team got up early. They scored. They had some great field position. Didn't do much. 6 catches for 49 yards. And that's a decent floor, as Scott points out here. And Concerns with the hurricane could potentially drop his ownership. Looks like that storm's not going to hit this area. And Sam Bradford, I mean, this is still his number one target. He's a freak athlete. He could put up points in a hurry. This game's close, and Sam Bradford, plays better because he just has not been very good, but part of that being the offensive line as well. Certainly a guy with big-time upside at low ownership. Stevie Johnson, a guy who's been popular a couple times this season, had a couple touchdowns the first 2 weeks, and Keenan Allen was phenomenal in 2 of the 3 games. But this week, as Scott points out, Keenan Allen likely going to get Joe Hayden, and he's going to need some help. And Johnson going to be the slot guy, the underneath guy, which is the best part of the Chargers offense. We've seen him, Danny Woodhead, lots of short passes, Ladarius Green there as well. And this was the defense that got torched by the Raiders last week. And Chargers have a big team total of 26.5. Johnson's a cheap way to get yourself some exposure to that. Got to imagine that Keenan Allen going to take nearly all of the ownership in GPPs for San Diego receivers. So swerving off him to Stevie Johnson makes a lot of sense. He's getting red zone looks as well. So Stevie Johnson, nice cheap upside play there as well. Next up, Martellus Bennett matching up with the Raiders, who are 24th in the pass against the pass over the last 16 games. Their offense is good, which is good because these games could turn into shootouts. Obviously, Bennett, he's got 3 catches each of the last 4 games. Alshon Jeffrey still out, but Jimmy Clausen going to have to be able to get him the ball in the red zone. And obviously, this is a much, much better matchup than it was against the Seahawks. I mean, they just had no chance in that game, as we all said, and as we all saw. But Martellus Bennett's a safety blanket. I mean, he's a big target. He's a good red zone target. He's a guy that can produce runs after the catch, which is not exactly common as far as tight ends go. So Martellus Bennett, certainly a guy with a nice floor and big upside if Jimmy Clausen can move the ball against what's proven to be an average at best Oakland Raiders defense. That'll wrap things up here for the Hail Mary GPP picks. I'm Big Italy 42, author of this great piece at Sports 25 to Life, Scott Mailwick. Check us out on Twitter. We are at DF Cafe. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Got lots of great content for every other sport as well to help you win at DFS, and we'll see you guys next time.